Oh boy. Others in that region who also indirectly or directly depend on some of that protein. But China's the hegemon. Whatever China wants to do, China is going to do. And the more power they get and the more they realize that themselves, probably just like the United States of America, the more arrogant they're going to become and the more they're going to use their muscle to push their way around in the South China Sea in particular. But increasingly with respect to Japan and Korea, and of course they don't like that at all. So they want to use us regardless of how insane we are, especially the other direction, towards Europe and towards the Middle East. They want to use us to kind of deflect some of that. I'm sorry, Japan. I'm sorry, South Korea. This is the end of the American empire, and it starts in the Pacific. And so you better start thinking for yourselves. You haven't done it for half a century. You need to start thinking for yourselves. Maybe America will stay with you while you do that, and you would like to think that that will happen. But the precipitous withdrawal of America from both Atlantic and Pacific responsibilities is upon us. $50.7 trillion in aggregate debt by 2034. Interest payments on that debt that will equal Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and the defense budget in one 12-month period. That's what you'll have to pay to prevent default on your debt. That's what we're looking at. That is retrenchment written in bold capital letters across the headlines of the New York Times if they weren't so stupid and so tuned into the government. So these are crucial times right now, and our allies are getting extremely worried, and the debates just put that worry in a current tense, a present tense.
So, hello, everyone. I don't think this is going to be overly well attended since it's Friday evening. I mean, afternoon, but you get my point. It's the end of the day on Friday. I'm not sure Ham is going to be available. So if you're looking for Ham, maybe go to your deli. I wanted to, there's no questions, I don't think. Hi, Pilot, Squire, Zizu, Gerald, Darren. The one is number one. Mark, Brian. I wanted to at least note that by Tyler Durden, prosecutors charge short seller Andrew Left of Citron Research with fraud for misleading statements. Federal prosecutors charged short seller Andrew Left with fraud on Friday. Really, finally? Accusing him of making misleading statements about stocks to profit from price moves triggered by his reports. Short and distort. It's really distort and short. Short and distort. It's both ways. According to an exclusive scoop from the Wall Street Journal. Known for his firm Citron Research, which targets market quote unquote lemons, Left gained fame for betting against Valiant Pharmaceuticals and for betting against GameStop during the meme stock craze. Remember, they have all the advantages when they start shorting. They can lie, they can manipulate the price, they can publish research that's misleading, and the SEC doesn't care. But the key here is it's federal prosecutors, not that limp-handed Gary Gensler. But he's seen less success in recent years, of course, because when the stocks are sitting up there high, and then the whole market colludes and works together to destroy the market caps, and SEC does nothing, doesn't care. one little bit. It's easy pickings, slim pickings. It's easy pickings. The Department of Justice, not the SEC, wrote in a press release this morning, according to the indictment, Andrew Left, of 54, formerly of Beverly Hills, California, and now a resident of Boca Raton, Florida, was a security analyst, trader, and frequent guest commentator on cable news channels such as CNBC, Fox Business, and Bloomberg Television. Left conducted business under the name of Citron Research, an online moniker he created as a vehicle for publishing investment recommendations. No, for short and distort. Short and distort. Short and distort, which the SEC doesn't care about. The Department of Justice does. Citron's online presence included a website and a social media account on Twitter. His media presence amplified his impact, leading followers to mimic his trades, prosecutors said. Quote, as alleged in the indictment, Left commented on publicly traded companies, asserting that the market incorrectly valued a company's stock and advocating Left commented on public traded companies advocating, I guess that's right, advocating that the current price was too high or too low. He never put something out saying it was too low. I doubt that. Left's recommendations often included an explicit or implicit representation about Citron's trading position, which created the false pretense that Left's economic incentives aligned with you, with the public, and a target price which Left represented as his valuation of the company's stock. Sometimes the commentary represented Left's own work. Other times, the Left disseminated the commentary of third parties as if it were his own. The commentary routinely included sensationalized headlines and exaggerated language to maximize the reaction it would get from the stock market. Can you think of Capybara? Can you think of White Diamond Research? The SEC doesn't care. They do not care. Adina Friedman does not care. But it looks like the DOJ does. As alleged, Left knowingly exploited his ability to move stock prices by targeting stocks popular with retail investors and posting recommendations on social media to manipulate the market and make fast, easy money, the press release said. The Wall Street Journal reported that Left faces charges of securities fraud and lying to federal investigators, with accusations of manipulating at least 15 stocks, they don't name them, of course, to earn $16 million over 5 years. Well, that's the $16 million he earned from that business, maybe, that he shows. What about the kickbacks from what the hedge funds who were paying him behind the back door, under the table, over the transom in Switzerland? 16 million doesn't sound like much. Prosecutors claim he exaggerated potential stock price declines, sometimes closing positions after minimal price drops. The press release continued. As further alleged in the indictment, in the lead up to publication of Citron's commentary, Left established long or short positions in the public company on which he was commenting in his trading accounts and prepared to quickly close those positions post publication, pump and dump, short and distort, and take profits on the short term price movement caused by his commentary. Here, finally, is proof that this happens. The boo birds come on, prove it, prove it. Here it is. What the boo birds here do or try to do. Left allegedly used his advanced knowledge and control over the timing of a market moving event to build his positions using inexpensive, short dated option contracts, which expired from the same day that he published his commentary to within 5 days. Left also allegedly submitted limit orders, often prior to publication of his commentary, to close his positions as soon as the company shares reached a certain price and at prices vastly different from the target prices that Left recommended to the public. While Left made false representations to the public to bolster his credibility, behind the scenes, Left allegedly took contrary trading positions to reap quick profits off the stocks he either promoted or pilloried through Citron. Pump and dump and short and distort. There it is. And that's what his allies, the day traders, come on here to allege. They have no proof, but here's proof. Left's indictment concludes a 3-year investigation into short sellers' tactics, not by the SEC, not by Adina Friedman, not by FINRA, Robert Cook, not by Gary Gensler, not by Robert Cromwell Cheese at Over the Counter Markets, not by your broker dealers, not by Ann Wagner. Left's indictment concludes a 3-year investigation into short sellers' tactics. I hope it's not. I hope this is specific to him and they haven't stopped looking at others. Prosecutors also allege Left concealed ties to hedge funds. I told you it is a massive industrial scale collusion to steal. Oh, I think William and Ham are a scam. No, here's the scam. Here's the scam. He concealed ties to hedge funds that traded on his early research, sharing profits with him. He denied these allegations to investigators in January of 2021. Boy, they move slowly. Capybara, White Diamond, Alpine, these other, they can act quickly, but the wheels of justice turn very slowly. They don't turn at all in the SEC, but here at DOJ, they turn the wheels of justice. Despite the allegation, Left has long described himself as a publisher with research protected by free speech. This is the argument the hedge funds and the lobbyists made to Ann Wagner. We don't want a consolidated audit trail. It violates our freedoms, our freedom of privacy, our freedom to have our own trading algorithms. Hoc tui, whatever that means. However, prosecutors claim his tactics were deceptive. If convicted, Left faces up to 20 years in prison for each securities fraud count, 25 years on another fraud charge, and 5 years for lying to investigators. So 20 years on each. And up here they say that he is accused of manipulating at least 15 stocks. 25 years each times 15. Hong Kong regulators previously banned Left. They banned him for 5 years for misleading investors about China Evergrande Group, though his claims were later validated as Evergrande faced financial collapse. See, that little argument there, not necessarily, but it might be true. The problem is these shorts, it becomes a self-fulfilling. They destroy the strength, the financial strength, the ability to raise capital. And there is in every company's share price, there's times when the share price gets ahead of itself, it's behind itself, but in a fair market where there's price discovery, sometimes there's enthusiasm. And then you get hang on.
Call from Andy.
Hang on. The speaker. Okay. All right. I think you can talk. No, let me see. Yeah. No, you're there. You're there.
Everybody, listen, I've spoken to many people on the street. Many people on the street are worried. And it's not the long trade, it's the short side. Most of them have spoken to Andrew Left, have him on his speed dial, have sent him stories to do. You know, they want him to bash all their stocks. And Andrew Left is going to give up everybody.
Just so you know, Ham, I just read that whole article on Left to them, so you can make comments and they understand what you're talking about.
Okay, so Andrew Left has been notorious. It's a short and distort guy. He shorts it. People pay him. He does stories for them, and he used his platform to become this big short-selling guru. We all knew, and if you listen to me or William over the years, I called it out 8,000 times. I told you what he does. He used to be called Stock Lemon, and he used to bash small caps, but then he went up the ladder and became, he wants to become Jim Chanos and play with the big boys. So he got caught playing with the big boys. He was writing false stories. One of his famous ones he did was Etsy, E-T-S-Y. The shorts were getting squeezed from 80 to 130 at $130. They came out with the story. Etsy has people selling counterfeit T-shirts on their platform. What are the chances that you can find a counterfeit T-shirt from all these different vendors? I wouldn't doubt if the short sellers signed up as a vendor, started selling counterfeit shirts, tipped off Andrew Left who it was and where it was, and that's how they did it. And the stock dropped from 130 to where it is now at $62. That's how these guys operate. I wouldn't be surprised if that's just the way it happened. Andrew Luck took fucking find his ass from his elbow, that guy. He's an idiot. I spoken to him many years ago when he was Stock Lemon. He had a lot of friends in Boca Raton, Florida. He picked a stock. He was shorted first, then tell all the cannibals, and they all naked shorted together. Mark Cohodes calls it a smash and grab. But the only way they can smash is to sell stock they don't own, because you can't borrow shares in that quick a time. So they all work at these day trading firms or hedge funds. And the smash part of it is selling naked short. They destroy the stock. They make longs panic out. And there's the grab. That's it. It's pretty easy. And that's what he does. That's what he's done. He did it to Peloton. He did it to EXAS, TLRY, blah, 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 blah. I used to call him wrong way left. And the story, which I didn't read the whole thing, probably says that he was shorting them and then reversing it and buying it, right? And that's what I used to say wrong way, because he always attacked good stocks, just trying to get people that were short to save their ass. That's what he did it for. Do you understand that, William?
I understand.
He's been doing it a long time. He's a criminal. I had a friend of mine, and I said it on this call. He was at dinner with him in LA, and he said the guy sat with his back to the wall because he was nervous. So here it is. You know, he obviously was nervous for a reason. Fuck that guy. He's probably ratting out everybody else who's short, because he's going to go to jail for 20 years. He's going to give up everybody on the street. And I'm sure Lynn Partners has given him a story or two saying, hey, bash this stock. We'll give you $100,000. Bash it. We're short if we need it to go down. But Andrew Left was doing big names, not small names. All right? He wants to be a big boy. So that's what it's about. Lynn Partners can't be far behind. Right? The Kramers were busted already. Lynn Partners is an unregistered toxic dealer. They're going to get busted. That's it. It's just a matter of time. We were given this gift. Thank you. We were just given this gift. But remember, Pat Burns coming in 75 days. We got another gift coming. All right? So I'd rather be on our side than on their side. Their side, it's open season on naked short sellers. And if you don't see it or don't feel it, I feel bad for you, because you have no clue what's going on. You can't
see. If you can't see what's going on now, the game is over. I know everybody wants to cash their ticket. You all want to bet on the one horse. He wins a race if we cash out 30 minutes. It doesn't happen like that. But the writing is on the wall. The inside information, you can see it. I could see it a mile long. I wish I was more wealthy than I am and be able to go out there and buy more. I just don't have the money. And I'm not sitting here going to tell my friends to go buy it. I've told them all. If they choose not to buy it, good luck. And that's just the way it goes. Do you have any questions, William?
So my thing is being non-responsive.
Listen, all you have to understand is everybody on this call, if you had contact with Andrew Left and he's getting arrested for short and distort, and you discussed shorting and distorting on a phone call with him, how would you feel?
Right.
I can guarantee you'd be sick to your stomach that he's getting arrested. And number two, he's giving you up.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to do. He's going to give up people to save his ass. Get this guy. Look at the other guy from Hindenburg. He had Kingdom Capital. Kingdom Capital was shorting that stock in India. They made $4 million. They cost the company $15 billion in market cap. They got busted. I mean, just think of what these guys do. It's right there. No one has any questions?
Yeah. One guy's
if
asking.
you are speaking or you have spoken with Andrew Left, you probably had your phone taped, something, and you're going to get caught. That's it.
TK16 is asking, is there any reason why the feds wouldn't offer Hal Mintz a deal to give up co-conspirators like Jeffrey Easton?
Okay, so here's the thought process. Every small-time criminal, small-time crook, like Hal Mintz, Jeff Easton, Yorkville, all these small-time criminals, the DOJ is going to get you. They're going to get them. What they're going to do is they're going to let Citadel skirt away. Citadel's going to get a slap on the hand, and he's going to be told you can't do this anymore. And since Citadel is not a public company, I believe VIRT will be a $1 stock. I had a friend that I was at a party with last week. He knows the CEO's brother. He bought the stock at $29.50. I made him sell it immediately. He had 70,000 shares. I told him to sell it. I said, this company is going to go down to pennies. They can't make any money unless they're stealing it. That's just the way it is. Just look how hard it is for you to trade. You think these guys are good at it? No one's good at it. If you're hitting 55%, 60% out of 100, you're a king. All right? These guys are batting 100 out of 100, okay? And soon they're going to have to come down to earth. And the over-the-counter traders that are in these firms are all a bunch of idiots. All the good talent has gone.
So I answered this question before, but I guess Justin doesn't understand my answer. If he direct registers his shares, or we all do, if people ask for physical delivery, can the company still reverse split?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, it's a silly question.
The company can do whatever you want. The company can do it anytime. Your direct registration doesn't mean anything about what a company can do.
Exactly. I'm not trying to be insulting. It's just the company can act on its cap table. The company has nothing to do with the counterfeiting. Nothing.
It has nothing to do with it.
Hey, John.
Listen, guys, listen. I understand you have a lot of questions. There's a lot of moving parts here. You're going too deep. It's basically they sold us a counterfeit. We have, I can finger motion. We have 230 million shares. Too many. It has to come down from 230, has to go back to zero. The only way it goes that way is the shorts have to buy it back. That's it. Now, the short sellers, thinking that they were going to drive this company to zero, it didn't pan out for them. The short sellers thought they had all the time in the world, that they were the kings. Guess what? Patrick Byrne's coming back. He's the king. And that's 75 days away.
So
The short sellers thought that Andrew Luck was going to be the king forever. Well, he's no longer in existence. That game's over. Now the short and the short game is who wants to write a negative report now? And if you go back to my idea about an exchange, what did I say? No short selling. Short selling. What's around short selling? Fraud. Whenever you have short selling, stock loan is fraud. No short selling at all. Forget naked short selling. That should be, it's criminal already, but that should be eliminated altogether. And here it is, short selling, short sellers. If you didn't have short selling, you wouldn't have short distort. Think about the damage to the companies that Andrew left destroyed. People got laid off, their bonuses, everything changed.
and they talked about 15 stocks, but they don't name the stocks.
They never do. I know three off the top of the head: Peloton, EXAS, ETSY. If you give me 20 minutes, I'll come up with another 10. Because I commented every time he did a story because I knew he's wrong way and it would go back the other way.
Right.
And they all have. When he bashed EXAS, okay, back in time, that was a company that was doing a check for colon cancer. Andrew Left had the balls to go on TV and debate the doctor that created the device. The stock went from 29 to 23. He said no one would ever use it. I used it. Everybody used it. Tried it. The stock went from 29 to 23. People bailed out. The stock reversed, went to 125, and Bristol Myers took a stake in the company. Show you about wrong way. That's wrong way.
So do you think
So
this
again,
will have a cascade effect and take down other
Yes.
short sellers?
Yep. Well, listen, just think. You're Jeff Easton, and 2 weeks ago, you met with Andrew Left, or you called him up. Think about that. You don't think these guys all talk? Hey, get my story. Can you kill this company for me? I'll give you 100,000 in cash. What do you think? They don't speak. It doesn't have to be they spoke 2 weeks ago. They could have spoke a month ago, 3 months
Right.
ago. Now think about it. You're sitting there saying, holy shit, this guy's going to jail. We were just having a conversation with him. Philip Lee, whatever his name is, whatever that guy's name, Lavalier, right?
Yeah, Philip Valier, yeah.
Jeff Easton's probably saying, why did you talk to that guy for? I thought he could help us out. Now what do they got? A bigger problem, right? Or maybe they're brokers. Maybe all the brokers that are tied to Andrew Left are getting called in. This is going to be, they went after they didn't go after a kingpin. They went after a guy that's got ties to all the underworld on the street and short selling. That's who they got. To Lynn Partners, this was a god. You understand?
Yeah.
To me, he says this isn't Citadel, but to Lynn Partners, this was like, we got a big fish here. We're talking to Andrew Left. That's how they think. You guys, you don't realize how massive this is, that people are now going to jail. So if you want to keep shorting, knock yourself out. And just out of curiosity, William, do you think the SEC, DOJ, FBI knows about Lynn Partners from the truck? What's your take on that?
Of course they do.
So who do you think is going to get the hammer?
Of course they do.
Low-hanging fruit's going to go first, and there they are.
Donald Vilfort Liebert doesn't think Trump's going to win. Well, that you might be right.
But listen.
What we have elections for.
Forget about your political thoughts for a second. Okay? Donald Trump's not putting a nickel in my family's pocket. No one's doing anything for you. Democrats, Republicans. I'm here for one reason. If they don't settle this, if you want to cheer against stock settlement, then you vote for the Democrats. If you want to get stock settlement and have a career and not get on these stupid calls all the day and have to listen to us talk about security fraud, then vote for the Democrats. That's all I can tell you. I don't really give a shit who wins. No one's coming to my house. No one's doing anything for me. I have to do it myself. All right? But Pat Byrne is the guy.
Would
And he
you
gets in. Then
would you buy puts on Carvana?
why did I buy puts on Carvana?
I don't know. It's a question I have.
I
Is it-
love Carvana.
is
I
the-
sold 2 cars to Carvana. I don't know what price it is. I know they squeezed it up. Yeah, go buy puts. You want to play the short side? Knock yourself out.
Yeah.
I don't follow it. I don't follow it on a day. I know they killed it always. But where's the trading at now? I don't even know. It's 30 something, 40
I
bucks.
don't even know the symbol.
CRVA. I
Okay, let me look it up.
think that's it. CRVA.
CRVA. That's curved beam.
Oh, hold on. CNVA.
Maybe it's CARV.
CVNA. Sorry. It's 133. It's up 9.
Yeah. So would you buy puts on it?
So for the gentleman who said, should I buy puts on Carvana?
Yeah.
When the stock goes up 9, do you think you're the only person who thinks that it went too fast? Let me buy puts on it? Or do you think the shorts are trying to cover it? I think this is all a short squeeze because shorts in many of these names, they were in Carvana. What was the low on Carvana? $3 or something like that?
I guess I didn't know this, but Zizu listened to Patrick Burns last night, and he means business. It's hard. It's exciting to hear him speak. It's good.
We're gonna have Patrick Byrne live for you shortly.
With
And we
busy
will be
brands,
asking
busy brands, busy brands.
What?
No, that's Busy's going to have him live because of you guys.
Yeah, but we'll ask the questions, and the questions will be direct hits on what's going to happen here. There's no tiptoeing around. I don't want to hear political BS. We want to hear stock settlement. This guy is going to be ruthless because they were ruthless to him. What goes around comes around. This man saved the whole USA from election fraud. He didn't even vote for Trump. If you listen to the guy, he's a libertarian, and yet he did what he can to save the country from election fraud. So we're not a banana republic. So once again, the vote is for Trump. Trump equals Patrick Byrne. After 4 years of Donald Trump, you can vote who the fuck you want for, but we need to do this, or they're just going to keep robbing from your family. If that's what you want, go vote for the Democrats. That's it. Listen, where I live, we all have guns. If migrants come around, they want to rob us, we're going to shoot them. That's it. That's just the way it goes. That's not to tell you. That's what we're going to do. My neighbor's got a lot of guns. I have guns. The neighbor, woman across the street and her husband got guns. Come down our block, create havoc. We're going to pick you off. That's it. So as far as the migrant situation goes, leave them in New York City, Manhattan. That's where they belong. LA. Leave them in San Francisco, Detroit, Chicago. They're perfect there. Let them all fight it out. That's it.
So Sideshow says, I hope they keep going. Andrew left as a start, but I hope they keep going. So you were describing, I think, how he's going to give up names. He's going to sing like a bird. Do you know he's up for 25 years on each count of security fraud?
I was talking to friends on the long side, okay? And they all said the same thing. These guys are all fucked. That's what they said. In plain English. Everyone wants to see it. That you want to see people arrested in an hour. Give it a couple of weeks, the names will start popping up. Kingdom Capital, this one, that one, bing, 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 bing.
Pretty plain.
Hindenburg, all these guys. What do you think Chanos quit for? You think Chanos knew something was coming down? He was the most wonderful. He was a very famous short seller. He quit. He packed it up. Why? He can't tell when a stock is overvalued. All of a sudden, he can't do it. It's because he knows the fraud game is over.
Nothing will happen to these stocks until election time. They're stalling. I'm not
All
sure
right,
about
next
that.
question.
You might
Next
be right.
question.
Yeah.
Next question. That's it. So what do you need to? What are you standing around here for? Come back when the election comes. That's it.
Then Steve's pointing out that CNBC featured left over and over, and then they had to announce this news this morning. Ironically, you know,
they use the all the time. Here's our expert. Yeah, you know, he's the expert. He used to be Stock Lemon. Stock Lemon became Citron. That's what he became. He went after penny stocks. Then he was making, and then he went up the ladder. He started doing the middle of the road stocks. Then he went to the big board stocks. And he figured out that if he attacks $100 stock, they're going to drop $10 real fast. So you buy yourself 500 puts, they drop real quick. You make yourself, 100, 200,000 real quick. If he's lucky, he gets more than that. And the guys who gave him the story pay him. There you go. He turns it into a $300,000-$400,000 a day. That's it. He lives in Beverly Hills. Not anymore. If you're going to go to jail, everyone on this phone, tell me you're not going to give up somebody, right? That's all you have to know.
This guy's a good guy.
Go watch the gangster movie. Go see about gangsters. Go see how they all rat on each other.
This guy's a good guy. So his question is good, even if you take it the wrong way. In Canada, they can get access to that expert market through national bank brokerage. How can Americans trade GTII in the expert market? I say don't do it. Don't do it. But anyway, we'll listen to your answer.
I agree. I wouldn't do it. Wait till it gets relisted. I'd rather pay 30 cents for it or 50 cents when the company gets its filing back up and the company puts an asset into there. That's when you buy it.
Right.
You're not just buying a number. It doesn't make a difference what number you're buying it. Doesn't make a difference.
Now somebody's pointing out that Root had a partnership with Carvana. Was that what? Oh, Root was insurance, wasn't it?
Yep.
It's interesting
So
because
Carvana is going up and Root's going up because of a deal together?
No, Stoney's saying this was in 21. Right. But he did say earlier, maybe yesterday, they trade together, or somebody said that. I don't follow him, so I don't know.
I know there's a big short in Carvana. That's all I knew.
Anyway, you had your call today, and I was on it with you with about 15 minutes. And one thing I said, which I think people forget, is that the shorts can get in trouble with the regulators as like left. The other thing can get them in trouble is when money comes pouring out, rotating and goes into smaller stocks, maybe not our stocks, it could be other stocks. And then the prime brokers are in trouble. They'll start asking for money from all the short positions that are out there. So
listen, there's 20 things in our favor. Give me the negative. Tell me the negative one. Everybody here, everyone wants to talk negative, all the negative people. What's the negative going against us? I don't know it. Go ahead.
Kamala Harris. The negative against us is we're just all worn down. That's one negative.
I'm doing it 24 years. So if I'm not worn down, which I always get worn down like everybody else, either you pick up and fight or you sell your stock and move on. That's it. You didn't sign up for life, but this is something you don't have to own the stock. I don't care if you do or not, but you have to fight because they're going to steal from you. And if you're 40 years old and you got kids 10 years old, they're going to steal from your kids. Defend your kids. Instead of getting a rifle, going and fighting in a foreign country and killing somebody, stand up and fight for your financial freedom here.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. So John is following up. He is a good longtime listener and smart guy. He said Ace has said that with the volatility in GTII, a person could make their money back fairly quickly. I don't agree, John. You don't know what the bid and the ask is. And the only way they're going to let you buy at the bid is if they
Or
drop
sell
the
it.
ask below you. They're not going to let you make money. But anyway,
Listen, if
let's
you bought
listen
it
to
at-
him.
listen, if you bought it at 4 cents, you bought 1,000,000 shares, right?
Yeah,
And you say, okay, sell it at 11 cents.
yeah.
I would stand in front of you all day with your order in my hand and sell it at 10 cents.
Yeah.
The worst I could do is just turn around and buy it from you at 11 cents.
You become the backstop for their risk.
You become right. That's exactly. You'll never sell it and you'll never buy it.
And they
That's
never
why
will let
waste
it
your time.
happen. They don't let you do it when the bid and the ask is out in the open. With the expert market, they can just put it up there if they want to, let you see it. I think it's a disaster. I do not think you should be trying to trade
Let the
GTII.
company file. Let the company file. Richard said there's a hearing this week about the court appointing a receiver to the company, throwing out management. Let the game begin. That's all I can tell you. That's how I look at it. You want to talk about going to try to trade a penny stock, knock yourself out? I don't do that.
I don't understand this question. And so first I'll ask you, have you heard of BNKD? He says 2 shares of BNKD seem to be dissolved today. It's a fund that shorts banks. I don't quite get.
It's a fund that shorts banks.
Yeah.
And 2 shares were reduced.
Dissolved. So maybe what he means is 2 of their funds.
They reversed the stock in the bank in the index.
I don't know what he.
Right.
Oh, in the index. I see. So they dissolved 2 of the banks in a fund that shorts bank stocks. So they made money. Anyway, Philip, I'm too stupid to understand your question.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. It's that's a technical question. I don't know the index. I haven't seen it, but there's probably 2 stocks in the index that fell apart and they reversed them or something happened. It changes the whole index up when they do things like that.
Guys, I think you're a moth attracted to the flame. There's no reason to trade GTII buying and selling it.
If you want to trade it, go knock yourself out.
Unless
you're going into a black hole. Good luck. You're going into a tunnel, and there's 40 guys in there with guns. Good luck.
Unless you have a longer term strategy. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying trading it is. It's
the best way to trade it. If anybody has a friend who's a market maker that can do it for you and protect you and make sure you get the bid and the offer, that's when you do it. If you have a friend that's doing it for you. If you don't have a friend that's a market maker, you're wasting your time.
All right. So what he's saying is that this BNKD is dissolved today, the whatever it is, and he only owned 2 shares. That's what he's saying. All right. I'm not familiar with that.
Listen, in the equity markets, you can't be an expert on all the stocks. That's so you find the basket that you study, and that's about it. It's very difficult. You have to look at the news. I can't give you real information about something I know nothing about. It's too hard.
So if Andrew Luck can hurt the big boys, look for Epstein. Look for them to take him out. Yeah, the fund no longer exists.
I don't think he can hurt the big boys. That's the big boys that Citadel didn't deal with them. Virtue didn't deal with them. It's guys like Kingdom Capital, these hedge funds, $50, $100 million guys. They're the real thieves. They're the ones that need to get returns. They're the ones doing this stuff. Once you go above that pay grade, you're not going to find many billion-dollar funds doing this.
Here's an example of how pervasive the thinking is. In this article, it says that Hong Kong regulators banned Left for 5 years for misleading investors about Evergrande Group, though his claims were later validated. Well, maybe not. I'm not getting focused on Evergrande, but what these guys do is they can create their own result. It becomes self-fulfilling. And it's unfortunate that journalists go, oh, he was right. Well, he made his own bed. Anyway, I guess I'm not explaining myself perfectly. FGCV says something is brewing. It's time to crush these shorts.
Thank you. That's the way you're supposed to think. If you can't see it, then you can't. Then you need to stop doing what you're doing. Turn off your machine and go away. Because if you can't see what's coming, the shorts are getting crushed all over the place for a reason. The big boys are throwing in the towel. Lynn Partner and friends are broke. They can't buy back the shares.
Right.
It's going to come. They're going to get wiped out. They know it. Just watch for the 1.7 million. That's the one I'm watching. They'll panic shortly. What would you do if you're short now? You spoke with Andrew Left. Friends of yours spoke to Andrew Left. They know about us. There's a truck in front of the FBI. What are you kidding me? These guys are all going to be shitting their pants. They're going away for 25 years. They're all criminals. You don't think they're afraid? And when the iron's hot, we're going to strike. We're going to put Lynn Partner's name right back out in front of the FBI and the SEC. We're going to put a truck. Don't forget him. We're going to make sure they know about him.
Well, what I like is it's the Department of Justice. They're not going to make a settlement like the SEC does.
No, just saying that. We're going to make sure they know about Lynn Partners. They can play all the games they want. We're going to keep exposing them, following the paper trail, the money, the phone calls, Benchmark. Everybody's tied together. Think about these brokerage firms, Benchmark. They're all tied to the naked short sellers.
Right.
Listen, your friend just robbed the bank and you were the getaway driver. When he gets caught, you think he's going to give you up? Absolutely. That's all you need to know. Go watch a movie. They show you how they do it.
It's a good time to back up the truck, Zizu says. Maybe.
Listen, they could sit here. They could sit here. Oh, the stock isn't going. How come our stock isn't going? Because we have someone that's going to jail. That's why. Very different. What would you do if you're going to jail? You do exactly like they're doing. You sit there and hope no one sees you doing anything to hide what you're doing. That's what they're doing. They're probably sitting in another room with their lawyers right now. What do? We're going to get busted. As soon as they get a document that says, show us, we need some documents, that's when they all faint.
Okay, so Tom is calling me out a little bit. And Tom, I'm not, Ham won't let me go long-winded, but he's saying on Finger, Ham thinks it will skyrocket and William thinks a slow climb. All I'm saying is as it starts.
Listen, William. Number one, everybody, everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. Well, he can't have his opinion. We're not attached it to him. He says this, I say that. What's the big deal? So if I say it's going to skyrocket, William says it's going to be slow climb, go in the middle. What can I tell you? Because what's the big deal? Why would you even discuss this? It's stupid.
But I also, yeah, exactly. But I also think that if you plan on the slow climb, that's something you can trade, not trade, but you can sort of plan on that. It goes from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8, that range. But to me, as it starts to circle around 7 instead of circling around 3, prime brokers are going to start asking for money, and that's when you could get a squeeze. But I just
listen, William. Listen to you and the gentleman. Once the stock starts to move, there is no slow motion. These guys would have been doing it already. They have no money. I keep trying to tell you that. These guys can't afford to buy it back. They can't. Once the game begins, it's over with. That's it. That's how it works.
What Ham's saying, Tom, is if they could win, they'd let it go up.
They let it go to 7 already. Yeah, they can't let it go up a nickel. Look at it. They don't want it to be up a penny today. Hurry up, hold it down so everybody gets discouraged because the market's up today. That's their mentality.
If they thought they could win, they would let it run.
Go up.
Go up.
That's all. It's easy. That's just. There's nothing more I could say. How come it's not going today? We can't enforce the rules. If it was so easy, Andrew Left is going to jail for life. He's going to rat everybody out. If you don't see that or understand that, again, hang up the phone. You're in the wrong place. This is it. I am not a police officer, but I think I understand by reading what's going on. And I think every company that Andrew Left has screwed, every CEO and every shareholder has a right to sue him for everything he's done because it's all been a fraud.
FGCV, not to quit. He says Lind, Virtue, Alpine, Citron, Citadel can all go to Hades.
That's what you have. That's the mentality that you should have. I'm not asking you to cheer for finger motion. Pick whatever stock you want. Hold on one second. That's the mentality you need to have. These guys are criminals. Don't sit here and fight with us. I'm not here to fight with you. They're criminals. I've been saying the same thing for 24 years. I didn't change the story. I tried to help companies out. They don't help themselves. What do you want me to do? MULN, I tried to help him out. He screwed everybody. What did DNS do? He screwed everything out, right? All these companies that you see. Look at CBM. I told everybody, this guy Gert is here about one thing. He wants to cure cancer, and he doesn't give a shit who's in his way. What did he do today? He had good news. The stock started to lift. What did he do? He raised money at $1, down 100% than where it was. It was trading at $2. He raised the money at $1, $10 million. This is the 50th time that guy did it. And if you listen to me on the calls, I've always said that. You guys don't know the history. I said it, and I like what he's doing. My friend had head and neck cancer. It's brutal. But this guy doesn't give a flying shit about the stock. He says, oh, when I cure cancer, the stock's going to 100. Yeah, by that time, my friend, he's reversed his stock fucking 5 times already. The only person who gets paid there is Gert, because he's trying to do what? Cure cancer. And I hope he does. But again, if you're an investor in that company, you're out of your mind.
This is an interesting question.
And Steve Rosenberg's in the stock, and I feel bad for him, and many other my other friends.
Steve Rosenberg stands on that wall because you can't handle the truth. Anyway, this Doug is asking you if these guys like Left are held accountable, is there any way we can get our money back that we lost from them? The answer is no.
What stock are you in?
I don't know. He didn't say, but
if you're in one of the stocks that he beat up, contact the CEO of the company and tell him to file a suit against Andrew Left against any assets he has. He lives in Beverly Hills. He has something.
That's a good point. It's a good answer. I didn't think of that. I did not think of that. I did not know that. Tom appreciates you.
He did a bunch of stocks, that guy. He raped everybody. And I said it 1,000 times. If you listen to this call, I've said it a bunch of times.
Which call option would you buy for DJT? Which call option would you buy for FNGR?
I would buy DJT. Listen, the options are very expensive in the stock. That's the problem. They're very expensive in that stock. I can't believe that someone's still playing here. Anyone who shorted the stock at DJT is got to be listed as a what? As someone who's attempted the life of the president. I mean, you got to be insane, right? So whoever's here, you got to look at, listen, if it's going to 40, it's going to 100. That's how I look at it. So why would you buy the 40 calls? I would buy the 45 calls. Know that I'm buying something that is trash. You got to remember, you're going to risk it. You know you're buying trash. If you think you're going to buy the bottom here and catch a rally back up, you buy the 30s, 32s, 30, whatever the hell numbers they have, 35s, whatever it is. That's if you think it's going to rally from here. I think it's going to be just like finger motion. It's going to be bang, zoom. That's what it's going to be. These are going to be bang, zoom stocks. Devin Nunes, I put the recording him up at the convention with the chairman of Rum. These guys are going to hang these people. What do you think they're going to? They all want GameStop money. It's free money. Pat Byrne is giving you inside information. People go to jail for inside information. Pat Byrne's telling you, when Donald Trump's elected, I will be asked, I've been told, he said, I've been asked, and he says, I've been told I will have a say in the administration. And the only thing I'm going to do is force stock settlement. Just like the gentleman just said, he heard Patrick Byrne, he's excited. I know Patrick Byrne. He's coming, and he's going to be brutal. These guys can cry, get the best lawyers in the world. Patrick Byrne knows that they tortured him for a long time, and he knows it. And I put up the Deep Capture movie. Deep Capture, you know what that means? The regulators have been captured. That's what Deep Capture means to him. And he talks about it in his video. Watch the video. Deep Capture the movie. There's a beautiful, nice and easy slide presentation. I put it up 40 goddamn times. Watch it. And you'll learn who Patrick Byrne is. I put videos of Patrick Byrne talking about the Goldman Sachs and their stock loan business. He put all those hours in, $30 million fighting these guys, and all the years and the time. Do you think he's going to be nice to them? Not a chance. Because he knows the players. He's going to put them all to bankruptcy. That's what he's going to do. And then he's going to go to a farm and go look at animals, which is what I would love to do. Only I don't have his money. Any questions on that little rant?
There's somebody in talking about an expert. You don't have any expertise.
No. Things don't trade. I can't talk about it. Listen, those people need to get a truck, get in front of the SEC, get together, stop fighting with each other, get out there, get your name into the spotlight, keep going. Instead, we're hearing death threats. This one, I don't like him, I don't like that. They're pissing on anybody. That's what the shorts want to do, is break apart the longs. Congratulations, that's what they do. And I would do the same thing too. Just think like the criminal. Hey, these guys are banding together. Let's get in the middle, make believe we're longs, and fuck them all up. That's what they're doing.
Well, this Wall Street Journal article on left and the DOJ proves that you've been right all along. I mean, it's not a conspiracy.
Listen. I'm not here for right or wrong. I'm here to make money. I'm just showing you that everything that we see, everything is right in front of you. If you can't see it, hang up the phone, go do something else, because you're in the wrong spot. If you can't see, this is so clear now that if you can't see it, you got to give up. That's where we're at right now.
Which ironically is what the criminals want us to do.
Listen, you can give up. I'm not giving up.
What's this? Any hope for Finger to get to $2.98? I think that it's going to $3. I think it's
next. If you didn't listen or read or see anything, take your $2.90 and stick it up your ass. Get out of here. The hell out of here. What are you listen to that fucking idiot? Any hope? I've been here fucking 5 years. You think I wanted to go to 290? Are you fucking retarded? Get out of here.
It must have been something on the trading desk standing next to you. I think.
Yeah, if you sit there, if you're an idiot, this is how you got treated.
They would have moved my phone closer and closer to the men's room or to the elevator if I was on the desk with you.
You would have been with a plastic telephone.
I'd be out there with my phone on an upside down trash can, kneeling, I'd be off the desk altogether. Anyway, there's no real other questions.
How could you even say that stupid question? Any chance? Hey, listen, tell that guy each week or every 2 weeks, sell the $3 calls for 10 cents. All right? In 9 weeks or whatever, 10 weeks, he'll have his money.
It's an interesting thing that Ham can teach you later on. But once you have a position and the price is reflecting true value, you can start selling calls against your position and bring in money. I mean, there's some risk to it, but it's
Listen,
not
you
what
got-
you
you
should
own
do
it at
now. It's not what you
You
should
own
do
it
now.
at 290, sell the options, 10 cents, $10, and every couple of weeks you'll have all your money back. But if the stock ever goes, you don't make any money. You break even.
David, the truck driver who I always think of on the highways, driving, he pointed out that this is the surprise. This might be the surprise that I always bring up, because it's my opinion, to have a squeeze happen all of a sudden, it's got to come out of left field. Whatever the trigger is, no one's expecting it. Price is a good one, by the way. It's the best one. And you might be right that this is it. What do you think on
the count.
what do you think? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm just getting in the car. So
Uh,
listen, again, I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but stupid questions at this part of the game. We're in the last innings.
I thought it was a serious question. I'm sorry, but
No,
anyway,
no. I'm not saying that. But listen,
that's why I'd
listen,
be in the
obviously,
janitor's
obviously-
office on your trading desk.
obviously,
Is either being stupid or has no idea what he's doing. Correct?
Yeah.
That's it.
He could have been a wiseacre. You're right. I didn't think of it. Oh, poor guy.
It's too late in the game. We've been doing this a long time. If you don't understand it by now, you're in the wrong game. There's nothing I can say.
This FGCV is asking you about plug, PLUG, and I'll tell
I
you,
can't believe they killed that stuff.
they killed it. I had my really dear friend, the head of Avadia in London, built a position in that personally back when it was brand new. It was such a great story. I studied it. I loved it. But they just destroyed it. Even with a great story, they destroyed shareholders, and no one cares.
And that was the one with the, I think, fuel cell. That's the hydrogen fuel
Yeah.
cell.
It's exactly what the world needs. But
Right. And they killed it. I tried to reach out to them. I think that company was upstate New York. I think. I can't remember. Plug Power or Fuel Cell.
yeah,
I
that's
can't remember
it.
which one.
That's it. And it just got destroyed. It had a great story, had a lot of investment apparently from the Middle East. But that was 20 years ago or something. And here it is, still surviving, still on the hamster wheel, while the financiers. Yeah.
It's $1. They'll reverse it.
Yeah.
Kill the market cap. It's the same. It's the same company. I wish I could say something different. It's the same.
June thinks this is our last chance to buy Finger inexpensively, and I think she's right. Vic,
I'll speak at that 1 second. The opportunity, okay, is in front of you. If you can't see it or don't understand it, you need to stop looking and go away, because it's so in front of you right now. They just nailed the king of short and distort. Every short selling criminal deals with this guy. Citadel does not deal with Andrew Left. These are the short and distort, small time criminals. Lynn Partners fits that bill perfect. The Kramers, he wouldn't do the Kramers because the Kramers only dealt with garbage. They dealt with real small cap companies. Lynn Partners is the type of firm that would go to the left and say, hey, here's $200,000 in cash. Kill this company, write some stupid story, whatever you got to write. Left probably turned them down because he can make $500,000 trading a stock by himself and then make money from another player.
yes. Yes.
You're telling me the whole shit gets in. Remember, when they start covering, it doesn't stop. There's 300 shares to sell. How are they going to buy it back?
Mark is pointing
Right.
out that Plug has a $2 billion market cap. Yes, but the original shareholders and ongoing shareholders have all been crammed down into a much
Yeah, they
smaller
all got-
piece of the pie.
They all go like that. William, tell them about how many shares you raised.
Oh yeah, I have it here. I wanted 400,000 shares for the millions I raised for this little company. I agreed to 150,000 shares, and now just letting it sit. The company's done well. They keep growing. They moved to London. They got FDA approval. Blah 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 blah. I just got in the mail. I have one share. They reverse split it so much. I'm down to one share at $4. It started out as 150,000 shares at £1 something. So almost $2 a share. It's like 300 grand worth of stock. I now have one share worth $4.
And Wall Street would say, William, but the company's doing great. Aren't you happy? Oh, sure I am. I got one share now. I'm thrilled.
I'm
And
so
that's all because the short sellers holding it down, making the company finance or refinance or raise money at the lowest possible level. Now they got too many shareholders and they have to reverse it, and that's what happens.
and I can't even get my certificate. It was 35 6 months ago, 35 shares. I can't get it back in the system. Cost $2,000 to do. I mean, it's they chop it up amongst the thieves and they leave the rest of us to flail around.
Right? That's the next thing. Once you get your stock out of the system, they don't let you put it back
They
in.
don't let you put it back in. So you never take it out. So then it's all pretend shares. Big JR says the SEC can give funds they get from disgorgement back to shareholders if a court agrees. Look up, quote, SEC fair funds, unquote. That's interesting. That's interesting. I didn't know that, actually.
It broke up again, William.
Yeah, she didn't return my calls.
People, this is like naked short selling the graduation class. This is no longer naked short selling 101. If you're just tuning in to 101, you're 3 years behind. We're in the final chapter right now.
Yeah, I think you're
And
right.
I'm
I'm starting to agree with you.
showing everybody the countdown to when Pat Byrne comes in. If you don't know who Pat Byrne is, I posted 20 stories about Pat Byrne. I always write, meet Pat Byrne, watch his videos, look at the work, and listen to him tell you he will clean up stock settlement. Naked shorts destroy stock settlement. Last night, I put up a story for those who don't understand it. I'll say it again. Delta Airlines, or airlines, all airlines, they naked short seats on the airplane. And when you show up, they say to you, is there anybody who'd like to get off the plane? We'll put you on the next flight, and we'll give you $500 if you get off the plane. If no one raises it, they go to the next person and say, okay, we'll offer you $600. It becomes an auction. At Delta one time had offered people $10,000 because people are standing there and have to get to their destination. Can't give up their seats. And this happened to me where my wife looked at me and said, don't you dare take the money. We want to go where we have to go. And we were offering that. So we would have got back $2,400 and went on the next flight 6 hours later, but we had someplace to go to a wedding or something.
And one time everybody wants the seats all at once is when the stock prices are up and going higher and the prime brokers start making margin calls. That's my word. I guess it's maintenance calls. And all of a sudden everyone wants those seats all at the same time. That's what it is. It's, you just talked about an airline. Do you know that Southwest Airlines had a third jet that came within 150 feet of the water? And the stock's down 87 cents.
What price is Boeing today?
I mean, look, yeah, it was a Max jet. It's up 236, $186. No worries.
It was 178 on the last scan when the time fell off and stuff like that.
No worries. Well, they've had 3 jets almost crash. One off of over Hawaii, one in Oklahoma or somewhere like that in the middle, and one in Florida. 3 of them, U.S. jets, almost crash.
So there it is. That here's a company that, listen, we know it's a major company. We all got it, but it gets rewarded no matter what they do. Finger Motion is doing everything possible to build a business, and we have criminals holding it down. Would you tell me to justice here?
Wow.
What did they do to deserve this?
The one, that's his name, the one, his cost average in Finger is now in the $2 range. That's fantastic. Fantastic. I think. I mean, I can't give financial advice, I guess.
Good for you. If you keep averaging in, understanding the story, and if you just relate that to GTII, I know people are upside down, but until they put up what's supposed to happen, there's no reason to do it yet. That's how I look at it.
This gentleman, Doug, he lost a lot of money when they put out that that crappy Barra article on earnings last fall on Finger. Then they said no clear path to earnings or something like that. It's so unfair. So unfair.
It wasn't. Capybara was the story. Andrew Left is the story. The short sellers attack based off that story. If anyone rings their doorbell, they're going to say, well, he wrote this story. You can see I shorted after the story. That's how they do it. They think they need somebody to run interference for them, and that's what these guys do. The Capybara, White Rock, same thing as GCII, Hindenburg did it to the company in India. They all do the same nonsense. And that's why I keep trying to tell you. Eliminate short selling, and you eliminate all these fake stories. There's no reason. Why would anybody write a negative story if you can't profit from it?
Apparently, the 298 question has something to do with a technical target that it breaks out. I don't know. Anyway, how can it be that GTII is trading when nobody can buy or sell it? The brokerage firms.
Well, if you're the criminals, they pay market makers to do things for them, right?
Right.
Just like I said to you 10 minutes ago, your friend's a market maker, then you can play. If your friend, you're going to get robbed. So the Kramers using Vertical Group or whatever, they make a market in these things, and they get to see everything that's going on. You don't. That's why.
I wonder if.
What would you,
yeah, go ahead.
And the only thing
That's not me. That wasn't me. He'll have to call back in. He disconnected. On the gentleman who wants me to admit, here it is. When will I admit Nextbridge can't pull oil out of the ground and is nearing bankruptcy after, in my opinion, you urged everyone to get into Nextbridge shares? I guess you're a lawyer. Hello? Hello?
I got kicked off again.
You must have gone under a tunnel or near Trump Tower or something. I don't know where you're driving. I forgot what you were saying. Oh, you were talking about how the criminals can still trade even though.
Yeah, mark it down every day.
Yeah.
Look at they do a Finger Motion. Let's sell 200 shares, mark it down, market's up 600, so people go home and get disgusted. That's what they try to do. That's all they're trying to do. And I would do the same thing if I was short. If you were short, you would do the same thing. When someone knocks on your door, that's when the thing just vaporized, and it just goes up like crazy.
So is your son enjoying the one side of this conversation?
Every time he plays whatever he's doing, he kicks me off. My family can't listen to. I don't know how you guys listen to me. My family hates me, so.
Well, there's some people here that hate you too, or they say they come in to be bashers. Finger closed at 210.5, down 0.005, but in the aftermarket, it's already up to 212. The volume on the day was 88,000 shares.
88,000. So if you take away all those little phony trades, we're probably trading 40,000 shares a day, just like I told you. That's normal volume for the stock would be 40,000 shares a day. Because on a daily basis, the company's not doing anything that's earth-shattering on a daily basis, right?
Right. Right.
So it doesn't deserve the volatility of day trading back and forth. There is no reason for that. It's just the manipulation and the wash trade and the volume. And the only reason they do those two techniques is to get people to sell. They always got to make it a negative.
And
But I think if people think like me, is I don't even think about it anymore because it doesn't make a difference up a penny down. It doesn't make a difference. They're going to jail. They're going to get busted. We're going to put their names right in front of the DOJ. I'm going to try to get the truck out there again next week. We're going to make them a star again. And we're going to make it to Jeff Easton, Lynn Partners, the Lynn Partners show. We're going to make a whole bunch of new slide presentations. And we'll make sure, SEC, DOJ, don't forget Lynn. Lynn's buddies is, what's his name, Andrew Lev. We'll sign together for him. Right? But these guys, they want to be movie stars, we'll make them movie stars.
wow. I know you've been aware of this, and I think you and I both.
Is there any question that anyone has? Listen, people, I understand a lot of people are regular people, they don't understand this stuff. So if you have a question, I'm driving, I'm going to a doctor's appointment, so please just ask away.
What happens after we die? Somebody will get mad at me because I'm trying to be humorous and you're serious. What do you think's going on with the top 7 stocks? They're down $2 trillion in 2 weeks. I think
it's related to Japan. Margin problem and margin call, and they have to liquidate.
Oh, that's interesting.
Christian Shorty's been putting that up there about Japan.
She's the best.
Listen, people, there's so many derivatives and so much trash this market. I don't know how they created such a tangled web. Here's a different note, but it's pretty funny. I won't give you his name, but I'll be with you remember the movie The Big Short?
Yeah.
And Morgan Stanley, Steve Carell was doing his business through Morgan Stanley. At the end of the movie, Morgan Stanley was almost went bankrupt. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, he's in the office and the chick is filling up her boxes.
Well, I'm going to be with the guy who almost bankrupted Morgan Stanley. It cost him $15 billion. I can see him tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
He was short the AA bonds. He sold all those derivatives. He sold the call options, whatever it was, the put options to them. And it cost Morgan Stanley $15 billion. But the best part about it is Morgan Stanley had to pay him to get rid of him. So he almost blew up the whole company. I think they gave him $5 million to leave.
I like CVM. They just announced that they're going to sell 10 million shares at $1. But your question is, did they already do it? Let me look it up.
Yep, they did.
All right, so that can be a positive. yes, it's at a discount to the price, but it's over and done with. So that can be a positive.
That's how Gert goes. Don't worry about it. It's over and done with. You're gonna say, wait a second, the stock was north of 2, and where to close it, William? $1.30, $1.20?
$1.30, he says. $1.30. He says.
$1.30. That was very nice of you, Gert. Why didn't Gert wait for the stock to run before he took in the $10 million at once? Does anyone have an answer for that?
I don't
No,
know.
because Gert cares about one thing: raising the money and curing disease. Investors come in dead last, and he's proven that over the 20-something years that I know him. This isn't the first time he's done this. He's done it every time.
That doesn't sound good.
But listen, he thinks he's going to cure cancer, but if you go back and look at his history, how many times did he take money and kill the short squeeze? How many times did he reverse the stock? Go do your homework until we get back to me. I have friends in it, and they just all call me up. This is great news. The stock was going. And I called them up this morning and said, I know I need glasses, but did it trade 50 million shares already? They go, yeah, you just raised money again. I said, okay. I said, something is up.
So one question I remember someone asked, but I don't think you follow professional baseball, but are you mad that the Mets are owned by Stevie Cohen? That was a question.
No, Stevie Cohen love the Mets. Like to kill us. Listen, all the money he stole, he's putting back into the business. What do you want? Everybody. Hey, the government let him go. He paid money he paid, and they're fine. Listen, once you settle with the government, it's over with. The government did their work, they let them go. And that's what I think they're going to do to Citadel. But everyone else, they're going to put in jail. Lynn Partners, Crackers, Savvy Management, Yorkville, guys like that, they're all going to jail. And this is where everybody knows the big boys stay alive. And then they like everyone else. And that's why I believe BIRC is going to be worthless, because they have no traders there that are going to be able to make money. So all the good traders are gone. They just have guys working computers that just know how to steal.
Yeah, so that, yeah, anyway, I see what you mean by the 298 target. I'm just going through some of these messages. John says when there's a gap between the bid and the ask spread in finger, he exercises care when it's that huge. Yeah.
Yeah, when there's a gap in the stock and you want to buy it, let's say you want to buy 1,000 shares, it's 208 to 214 today. You buy 100 at 214, 100 at 212, 100 at 210, 100 at 208, 100 at 206. So if you got all three of them, you got back 400 shares. You're in 400 shares.
Yeah.
Now, if I was a short seller, how do you stop people from buying the stock, William? Let's see if you can figure it out.
What's the question? How do I keep them from buying the stock?
How do you stop us from buying more shares?
You always cross the trade underneath the ask.
No. So if you want to stop, Flint Partner is listening. If you want to stop us from buying the stock,
Oh, make the price go up.
make the bid and the offer, make the spread big. They should make the stock 225, 285. But no one's going to pay.
Right. That was not me. I did not hang up on him. I did not hang up on him. Although I think the market's closed. All right, here we go. Yes, Sam?
So 25 to 280. Most people are going to say, I'm not going to pay 285 for it. And it slows down the buying of the stock. The problem is if it trades at 285, they get a margin call And so we could buy 100 shares at 285, and then we get a margin call because it's trading at 285. That's why they don't let it go up. That's why it doesn't work here. That would work against them.
I mean, there's no real new questions, so we have to come up with our own topics.
As long as everybody understands it. Right? This weekend, I'll go through everything and then make sure I'm going to try to find some connection between what short sellers we're dealing with left. I'll try to figure that out. And the news will get tighter around the short sellers. Listen, it's open season on short sellers.
I agree.
And that is the key. And if you understand that, and if you wanted to make a wager, pick whatever stock you want to buy, and you figure it out. But the shit's gonna hit the fan. Monday will be down to 74 trading days. Busy's working on some combination of some people we all want to hear from. I don't want to give everybody's names, but there will be something cooking shortly on that front. New, fresh, improved, from the horse's mouth. So for those who doubt it, who think, "Oh, we can't get it done," yeah, all right. Good luck. Everyone who is not invested or is invested should be cheering what's going on. This is all great stuff that's going on for us right now. Is that it?
I think so. Let me see. There's one more. No, that's it. That's it.
Well, listen, let's leave it like that.
You'll have to have a conversation with your son.
No, it's talk to me. When you get off the phone, I'll be walking in circles talking to myself. Listen, you think I'm excited about Monday and it's Friday, it's 4 o'clock.
I'm excited about tomorrow. Summer Olympic, or maybe it's just the Olympic. Djokovic plays again in Paris tomorrow. I know his career's over, but it gives me one more shot. He might play Nadal in the second round. That'd be fun.
I'm glad you're going to have a good day. Good for you.
It's in the morning, 8 a.m. It's not the day. It's the morning. All right. Well,
hey, listen, have a great weekend.
Much appreciated.
I'll be watching TV tonight. And if anybody wants to watch a cheap gangster movie, you can watch Graves End. I forget where it's on. It's a very cheap gangster movie from Graves End in Brooklyn. It's a gangster movie.
Sounds good.
Big names in there, but you can watch the football thing on Netflix, The Receiver, which is very good. The base is listening to me. The 49 receivers, all the receivers are really nice guys. I really like the guy from Detroit, Amon Ra, his name is. His father was Mr. America, and his mother was a German, and she taught the kids how to speak German, which is pretty cool.
That is. That is.
And these poor guys take some beating in the year, boys. These wide receivers, you don't realize it. Anyway, other than that, I just watch the usual 30 Rock. Watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I would watch these stupid comedy things. And Jerry Seinfeld, of course. I would watch that. Anyway, William, have a good weekend, everybody. And I'll post it. And if I hear anything really exciting, we'll throw up a conference call number.
All right.
We'll go at it. All right.
That's awesome. Thank you. Bye. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Call him.
All right. Yeah, there was, Philip, there was a good interview with Peter Boards on CAUD. I didn't listen to it. I just was reading the comments, but I'll try to listen and maybe make a video. I want to get to this gentleman, Zavilio, and the other gentleman, this guy, PCP Reynolds. When will you admit Nextbridge can't pull oil out of the ground and is nearing bankruptcy after, in my opinion, you urged everyone to get into Nextbridge shares? Well, I guess you have a lawyer because you're saying in your opinion, but I never urged anyone to get in. I never urged anyone to get in. Can I say that again? PCB rentals? I never urged anyone to get in. On my lives, I used to sit over there and outside. People were asking me, and there was a momentum for it, building. And I did talk about Torchlight because years ago I had been introduced to Torchlight for the purpose of raising money to develop the Oro Grande. And I did a lot of due diligence. I did it over the phone. I did it reading documents and data. And I also visited. I visited whatever the heck that city is, north of Dallas and almost to the border of Kansas. I'm having a Biden moment. I met the geologists there. I went into Oklahoma. I went into Houston several times. So I did a lot of, and I got to know John Berta, and I did a lot of analysis of Torchlight, but I never was able. I got a lot of my friends and investors to buy the stock, and I bought the stock, Torchlight, but I was never able to raise money for it. And then, you know the rest of the history. But I was offered, a friend of mine that I trust very much started telling me to buy MMTLP when it was 80 cents. And I said, nah, I don't trust all that. I didn't know what MMAT was. I didn't trust. To me, the shorts had destroyed it. And then it went to $1, and then it was $1.20 or something. Then it was $2. I kept he said, you got to listen to me. You got to buy it. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it. So me, PCB Reynolds, live, I think I bought my shares on the Wednesday. That would be December 7th. And on Thursday, December 8th. If I'm wrong, I might have bought it Tuesday, Wednesday, but I think it was Wednesday that I bought my own. I did it live. I paid $8, I just under like $7.96 a share, $7.94 a share. I bought it in my IRA in my regular account, but I never told anyone to buy it. So you can take your opinion and check it at the door. But I will not admit what you're saying. I just want people to hear this guy, PCB Rentals. You don't know his name. He's here. He's unbiased. He's here to help you, but he makes things up. But I think it's important to remind everybody that NextBridge filed their annual report, their 10K. I can't see the date. I mean, this is through the end of last year, but I can't see the date when this was filed. But I think it was last week. No, here it is. No, I don't have a date here. It was after July 15th. Anyway, they just filed it for all practical purposes. And if you go down, everyone, it's a long document, and they give you an overview, and they go through the financials. They had to restate. They had to.
Call from Andy.
Hello? That was a butt dial. Anyway, if you go to management discussion, it's a pretty good place to start. And this is information that's been audited. It's been approved by attorneys. And if they put it out here and it's a lie, they can go to prison. So let's see some of what management's discussion and analysis of financial condition and results of operations. Overview. Our consolidated financial statements have been prepared on a standalone basis. They conform with GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. So on, historical costs, assumptions under meta, reasonable, with respect to comparative financial statements, the period of December 15, 2022 through December 31, 2022, that's the successor period. And the period of January 1 through December 14 is the predecessor period. Hello? 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 He must be sitting on his phone. All right. So on December 21, 2022, we entered into that certain agreement and plan of merger with Hudspeth, Wolfbone, MPC, and Mr. McCabe regarding leases, lands covered, pooling, communitization agreements, rights of way, surface estates of the lands, and all the wells in the Oro Grande project, transferred, conveyed, and assigned. They entered into a note, and I guess that's still there until September of this year. Anyway, when you get to the recent PCP Reynolds, this is very important if you really care. The recent developments. We met our 2022 drilling obligations under the agreements to drill 5 new wells in the Oro Grande project in advance of the March 31, 2023 deadline under the University Lands Lease Agreement. The data collected from these 5 wells, listen, PCP Reynolds, the data collected from these 5 wells, in addition to the 5 wells drilled in 2021 to hold the lease, confirmed, listen to this, PCP Reynolds, the data collected confirmed that there are at least 5 potential distinct reservoirs under our acreage. 5. Also, our operations team used a new technology, result in savings and success. While these wells may have potential to produce hydrocarbons to sell commercially in the future, we have no immediate plans to deploy the additional capital necessary to sell production from these wells to third parties. In other words, they are going to allocate capital to other more important areas. That does not say they can't pull oil out of the ground. We have no immediate plans to deploy the additional capital necessary to sell production from these wells to third parties. Instead, PCB Rentals, instead, we plan to use the results from these wells. They could call them science wells, but they look like they're productive. So we're going to use the results from these wells. Listen to this, PCB. To determine our drilling plans for future wells, including PCP, reservoir locations. Remember, they have 5 of them, target depths, and designated acreage in the Oro Grande project. Now, what that allows them to do, they can add to acreage if they don't own it. They know where the trend goes. They can drill out to define it, but they also have to renew their leases. Okay, so then they, in October of last year, PCP, they entered into a bunch of participation agreements, and they drilled their 17,000 Johnson acre project. Now, this prospect is shallow. The group of investors funded the drilling. It cost $9 million. They acquired the rights, the leases. They drilled 5 vertical wells. And they have the right to participate in additional wells on the Johnson prospect, including an additional 5 vertical wells for to keep them to hold the lease. They allocate the working interests and net revenue between the participants and the company, and they don't describe that. But after payout, and it's probably the majority of it goes to the participants, but after payout, the company will own 25% working interest in these shallow wells. $9 million's already been spent. There's a call on 9 million more. It actually looks like it's a right, not a call. But anyway, it's likely that that'll get done. And they get an 18.75% net revenue interest on each well. This is fantastic. This is cash flow. This is a shallow project, and they have it financed. It's fantastic. And they own a significant, I don't know, how do you add, what is that? Almost 40% of each well after a payout. It's a tremendous deal, PCP. It's the last thing to say that they're going into bankruptcy. It's the last. Now I'm reading from the annual report. You're just putting up a comment. Okay. The wells were completed by December 31 of 2023 and satisfied the drilling obligations under the lease agreements. All right, so the historical results. In 23, we had a net loss of 37 million compared for a net loss of 81 million in 2022. Well, actually, I guess you have to add 81 million to 8 million. So they lost almost 90 million in 2022. Now, PCP, I know you know this. You look like an intelligent person. Oil and gas losses, they're capital costs when you drill wells. And what's not reflected here, because they haven't turned it to revenue, is revenue. And what further is not reflected is the value of the reserves they proved up if they did. What would be a reason for that? They want to make sure they can renew their leases inexpensively. They want to acquire more acreage. And one thing that impresses me with this, they increased their ownership. NextBridge increased its ownership of the Oro Grande project after the stock stopped trading from 75% to 100% working interest. That's a pretty darn good commitment that they're the ones that have the seismic. They're the ones with the results from the wells. It's a pretty good indicate they know there's reserves there. Hello? Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to put a friend on the phone call, and I want you to hear what he has to say. I won't give his name. All right, hold on a second.
Is it Donald Trump?
Yeah, it's Donald Trump. Everyone, I got my friend on the phone. I won't say his name, and he lives in Las Vegas. He's at dinner. We're on a conference call, so just listen to my conversation. I have William here. Who was at the bachelor party when you went?
Andrew Leff was there.
And what did he say anything?
Not a word. Not a word. The whole
You told me he was sitting his back to the wall, my
Hey,
friend.
there was like 15 of them, more than 15, 20 of us. And we had a big long table. He was sitting on the other side in the front, with his back against the wall. And I said something to him.
What did you say to him?
I said something to him. I said, why do you always sit? Well, why do you sit with your back against the wall? You worried? I mean, too.
All right, thanks.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. All right.
So, William, here you go, people. I told you people pop out on the street, right?
Yeah.
And my friend was at a bachelor party, and he was there, right? And I told him when he told me, he called me up, he told me he was there. I says, tell him he's going to jail. He goes, I'm not saying that. And there he was, he's going to jail.
He's got a good.
So for people that doubt that have connections, we know where everybody is. Everybody talks.
He's going to have a lot of wedding nights in jail.
Well, I'm just saying that. I'm just trying to show you that we have people all over the place. And when you do something, it pops up. We may not always have the timing, but we can always give you what we hear and what's going on. You know, Wall Street's a very small place. People talk, and you know what? We always find out what's going on. All right. So again, we can't force the issue on anything because we're not the police, but we definitely can hear what's going on. So anyway, listen, have a great weekend.
Thank you. That was really fun. Thank you.
All right, you got it.
Call ended.
Okay, I saw that news on the diamonds. That might be an interesting mining operation. But I just want to go back to this point quickly. Anyway, I can't find the guy. The point is there's a lot of non-cash losses in the oil and gas business, and there's write-offs and et cetera. But also there's real capital spent. But if you're not producing, you typically don't get credit for those reserves. Doesn't mean they're not there. But the thing is, if you have 100 million in a tax loss carry forward, PCP, that means when NextBridge starts producing and earning money, having net income, the first 100 million in income can be offset with the tax losses carried forward. It's a pretty powerful thing. So this was a great annual report. I think it sets NextBridge up for now. They may have to do these next 2 quarters. They had to change their auditor from that bad one that got in trouble, and they did that. So to me, PCB, what this does is, contrary to your opinion, NextBridge is likely now to be able to raise money. It might be at a low per share price. I think we have to get ready for that because the pressures of the shorts and the idea of a token and then they're trading it offshore and maybe it'll be lower the first time. Who knows? But it might not. We don't know what the price will be. remember, if they do an equity offering, which they filed, I did an interview here, I don't know, 8 months ago. They have the right, or they negotiated the right to say, no, we don't want to accept money from Yorkville advisors. We don't want to accept money from Aubrey advisors or Lynn Partners, because to the best of their ability, they want to make sure they're not crossing with the criminals, with the shorts. They negotiated that right. But remember, you've got Greg McCabe and all the top people there on your side. So anyway, PCB, this is great news because they are going to be able to raise the money. I don't know at what price, to drill their 5-well commitment this year and have the wells completed by the end of the year. And PCB, they've already drilled 15 wells, I believe. If I'm wrong, it's 10 or it's 20. But if this were a failure after the first one, the question is, should we drill another? And if the second one is a failure, the question is, should we drill another? And if the third one is a failure, the question is, should we drill another? And if you get to 5 and they're all failures, you can't raise money. People will walk away from the project. So no, I don't agree with you at all. I think Nextbridge is a vibrant, exciting oil and gas play. And they're going to drill the wells to hold their leases. They're also going to be able to raise the money to extend their leases for 5 years. And it looks like they'll be able to acquire additional leases should they need to. They don't come out and say that, except that one little reference of delineating. So this is fantastic annual report, PCB. Absolutely fantastic. Now, somebody else here said, I'm wrong. DeVillio says I'm wrong. The only Nextbridge shares that are available are the original 385 million. DeVillio is coming here to help you. DeVillio doesn't have a bone to gnaw on. He's just got your interests in heart. But it is not 385 million. It's not 385 million. It's 165 million. The Nextbridge shares available to MMTLP is roughly 165 million. That's it. The company authorized, Nextbridge did, the issuance of 500 million shares in total. But what's outstanding right now, I think, is it's either 242 million or 262 million shares. It changes a bit. But the Nextbridge shares that are available to MMTLP are 165 million. So right out of the gate, DeVillio, in his sincerity to give you good advice, is wrong. And he's saying they're owned by the original 65,000 people. No, they're not. They're not. Depends on what he means, actually. If he's talking that the shares are sitting at the transfer agent, reflecting a total of 65,000 people's investment in MMTLP, yeah, that's true. But the last time I heard the number, and we have no way of knowing the exact number, only about 65 million to 70 million, maybe less, of the Nextbridge shares are claimed. Everybody else is sitting on their thumb and holding MMTLP. Now, DeVillio, who has your interests at heart and yours alone, and I somehow have some other interest, I guess. William is wrong when he says to all people to transfer their MMTLP shares to AST. He doesn't give his analysis. He doesn't give a reason. In FINRA's fact sheet, which I've read to you, on page 2, top of the page, it clearly states that MMTLP expired on December 13th, 2022. Is it 22 or 23? I'm confused now. Anyway, whatever the year was where the trading was halted. They expired. They don't exist. MMTLP now is just an accounting fiction. It's an accounting fiction in order to track your broker-dealer's obligation to you to give you 1 share of NextBridge for every share of MMTLP you have. Now, right now, you can do it all day long. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need to file class action. You don't have to steam around New York, DC, or Texas, protest signs. You don't have to call your congressman. You don't have to go get a journalist. You don't have to write a research paper. All you have to do is call your broker-dealer and say, I would like to convert my fake placeholder of MMTLP. I mean, that's not a very good use of the English language. As a placeholder, it's real, but as shares, it's fake. I would like to move my placeholder, my fake shares of NextBridge to real shares of NextBridge while they're still available. And at the most, it'll cost you roughly $60, $80 to do that. And you can do that without class action or your own lawyer having to write it up. And I'm not wrong about that, but DeVillio wants you to know that I'm wrong. So if you listen to DeVillio, at some point, that option will no longer be available to you, and you will be left with a chit that says, hey, I have a right to shares. And the coat check guy will say, well, there aren't any mink coats here hanging on the, our coat rack's empty. When did you have that chit? Well, I've had the right to convert my coat check into my wife's mink coats for 555 days. Well, why wouldn't you have ever done it? Well, I got some advice from DeVillio that it's wrong to make that transfer, to ask for my wife's mink coat, that it's better just to hang on to MMTLP than get the mink coat. Well, sir, we had a lot of coats here, and there were a lot of people that had their claims, and they came, but everything's spoken for. It's all gone. Well, what do I do? It says here I'm entitled. Well, you have to take that up with management. I can give you their number, and I would have my attorney take this coat check, and you have to file a suit against Caesars and see what you can do. Well, how long do you think that's going to take? I don't know, sir. I'm just a coat check, but I've heard that lawsuits can take 3 or 4 years. Well, how much money is that going to cost me? I don't know. I'm just a coat check, but I bet you're going to spend more than the value of your wife's mink coat. I still don't understand. Why didn't Why didn't you come in while everything was here? We've shipped everything that was left. We've cleared it out. We gave it all to charity so that our coat racks are ready for the new season. What ever induced you to do nothing? Well, DeVillio, I don't know his real name, but DeVillio told me that the advice I was getting from William was wrong. So I didn't do anything. Anyway, you guys can listen to DeVillio. I'm sure he'll be there to answer your questions when all of the shares are allocated. And then you have no option of going and getting your real shares. Your only option then will be to join a class action suit or hope somebody else sues or hope that Congress grows a pair or hope that the SEC starts caring for you or that FINRA enforces rules. Good luck. Good luck. If you follow DeVillio, good luck. If you own the real shares, they have, it says here in the annual report filed with the SEC, 5 distinct reservoirs. Think of a layer cake or a wedding cake, big one with 5 layers. They're on into their next 5 set of wells. I think that brings it to 20, might be 25. They got the Johnson prospect. They have cash. They have some exposure to high upside in southern Louisiana, massive upside for free because they bought and horse traded. And it looks like their filings in place. They still have that shelf registration with Roth Capital. And they have dedicated investors that know what they're doing. I think it's a great story. It's the largest, they say, Torchlight said, it could be the largest onshore new field discovery in 50, 60 years in North America, or at least in the United States. It's pretty darn good. So please listen to DeVillio. And when you can no longer exchange your worthless MMTLP for what could be extremely valuable NextBridge hydrocarbon shares, essentially for free right now. When you can no longer do that, I'm sure DeVillio will pay for the lawsuit so that you can get the value of what MMTLP should have been worth. In the meantime, as NextBridge starts drilling and decides to produce, guess what? NextBridge shareholders could receive dividends. They could receive one-time payouts that could be worth more. The one-time payouts could be conceptually worth more than what you invested in the stock. But please listen to this very well-meaning guy, DeVillio. I'm wrong, he's right. Just don't do anything. Just hope somebody else rescues you. All right, I'm done with that answer. Hey, Candy and Gronk. Steve says, I'm excited to have shares in a real company with excellent potential. And I'm excited to offer Gronk 2 milk bones for Gronk. One at a time, Gronk. One at a time. I'm really excited to have real shares in a company with potentially a good future. I'm glad you transferred. That's awesome. Tell him to get a hair weave. No, what a good puppy dog. There's Lair. All right. Jack Plus says, how is NextBridge on the verge of bankruptcy when they have firms coming to bribe millions of shares, multiples of 2.65? He suggests that you should transfer your shares to NextBridge in order to expedite the resolution, to give power to Greg McCain to negotiate. But go ahead and listen to DeVillio. I don't know. I don't know. All right, so there's not a lot of questions. So let's see if I can. Oh, I do want to say to the gentleman up top who was saying that Kamala Harris, the election is going her way. Here, this guy, Donald. Donald, I happen to agree with you, which I hate saying, but I went to 270 to win, where they have that interactive chart. As far as I can tell, Kamala Harris just has to win Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Detroit, and she wins the election. She's taken a stand against Netanyahu, but then she's also trying to take a stand with Israel. But basically, she's made it uncomfortable enough that the press is saying that she's anti-Netanyahu. I think that's going to help her win Detroit. And then Atlanta, I listened to a Zoom call that was pre-recorded, and like you say, Donald, there's a lot of young people who were going to vote for Kamala. There was one young woman that answered the question, and she said, well, to be blunt, because the man who happened to be African American asked her, who happened to be African American, why are you going to vote for Kamala? And she said, well, to be blunt, because she's a black woman. There's going to be a lot of that, and I think that'll happen out in and around Atlanta. And I think there'll be a lot of Kim Cheadling going on too, but we're going to be asked to believe that it's a fair election, and we'll have no choice but to accept it as a fair election. So I think she has a chance of winning Detroit, a chance of winning Atlanta. What does that leave? She needs to win Philadelphia. Again, there'll be a lot of Kimberly Cheadle there too. But if she can select Shapiro as her vice president, I know it's contradictory to my argument about Detroit. She can there'll be enough there that the propaganda can say that she won Pennsylvania. If you throw in that another candidate she could pick is Kelly out of Arizona, but I think Arizona will go blue. I don't know how to say that county, Maricopa County. Last time, with the magic markers and the bunch of thousands of ballots dumped along the side of the road and in the trash, and boxes found later, but it was the fairest election ever. It'll be another Kimberly Cheadle election, but I think she'll get Arizona too. She only needs 3 out of those 4. She needs Maricopa County, whatever that is called, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Detroit. She only needs 3 out of those 4. And she wins. So I think Donald, I happen to agree with you. I think we have to get ready for a Kamala Harris presidency. And one of the things that's going to do is make tax loss carry forwards for yourself extremely valuable. Extremely valuable. So you have between August and the end of the year to cull your trading positions for tax losses, because the financial world will change when she's president. I happen to think it's more than 50-50 that's what's going to occur. I hate saying it, by the way. I hate saying it. Why would you want real share in NextBridge when you can hold worthless MMTLP chits that appear in your brokerage account with a value of 0 staring you in the face at every login. Exactly. Nunya, you always say it a lot better. You always say it a lot better than I do. Steve F. transferred in January. Yay, 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 yay. If I saw Gronk, I would give Gronk a higher quality treat than a milk bone. Wait a minute. Were these wells that are already mapping that big lake all done in 23? Also south next to the highway where we got fixed when they were done in 23. Well, according to what I just read, I don't want to go back to it. They drilled 5 wells in 21, 5 wells in 22, and 5 wells in 23. And they drilled the Johnson prospect. Unless I'm missing my arithmetic or I'm misreading it, it means they drilled 20 separate wells. And now they have to drill 5 more this year, which adds up to 25. If I'm wrong in double counting, maybe it's only 20. But regardless, David, they started with Rich Masterson's analysis that the Oro Grande is an analog to the Delaware Basin. Rich Masterson was either the first or one of the first that had the theory of the Delaware Basin. And what is that theory? There's oil there. The oil's always been in and around the Oro Grande. The problem is they used to do vertical wells. They're tight sands, and it's away from infrastructure. But they've pretty much drilled or the acreage is zoned in the Eagleford. And then they went, you've got the Midland Basin and the Delaware Basin. And then there's some stuff up north, the Scoop or whatever the heck it all is. But they now are going in the Oro Grande. Now, a couple things have changed, David, and you know this. I'm not lecturing, but Murphy oil was the one that cracked the code. I raised money for a company. One of the gentlemen on the board, great guy. He had a very smart. He had a son, at least one son, playing baseball. He's a lawyer, and had a great Texas accent. But the company that I raised money for sought bankruptcy. So there were these prior to raising the money. So there were these separate classes. He represented the 8 class 8 holders. And so we would go in. We had 1 seat on the board. So my associate from London and I would fly in, and he had the board, but that was a compromise because we gave my seat to our investor. But the compromise is that I would go to every meeting, which I did, and I was very grateful. I didn't have a vote, but I got to hear everything and was able to ask questions and give opinions. Anyway, this gentleman was a country lawyer, and he asked us, he said, well, I can't do his accent. I'd like you to consider raising money for us. We just need a little capital. Every well we drill holds some massive amount of acreage, like 4,000 acres or 20,000. Anyway, back then, no one believed the story. So he was drilling into, I think it was called the Barnett Shale, vertically and holding acreage. And he built this huge position, wasn't producing a lot. And my associate, who's a great guy, he said, nah, that's too small for us. He only wanted like I don't remember. My friend says he wanted something like $500,000 or $2 million. Not a lot of money for half the company. But the guy I work with and friend and brother, he said, "Oh, that's too small. We're not interested." Well, in 2002, I think it was, Trevor Reese Jones hit the Forbes billionaire list, tied with Sandy Weil, because his acreage position he had built up became incredibly valuable by drilling vertically and then going horizontal and fracking. This was the brainchild of Murphy Oil and George Mitchell. And Mitchell's company almost went bust twice while they pursued this idea that you could drill, instead of vertically, you could go out horizontally and suck the oil from a horizontal well from these tight sands and other structures. During one of the almost bankruptcies, a guy in the back in Mitchell's office came up with the idea of fracking with something. I don't know if it was with a sand or it was with water, I forget. But he had a breakthrough idea and it worked. This country lawyer that was on the board of the company we raised money for accumulated acreage when nobody believed him. And he hit the Forbes list worth $2.2 billion. And that was just a start. His wealth grew to 5 billion, to 7 billion. And then, of course, there's been some back and forthing. So I don't know where he is now. But that's the power of accumulating acreage, having a theory of where the oil is, having an understanding of the reservoirs, and keeping quiet about what's there. So you don't announce it to PCB because he's a spoiled brat. You say, no, it's in the best interests, long-term interests of shareholders to slowly prove to ourselves first what we have. Don't tell the world. Acquire more acreage. Acquire the appropriate acreage. Prove up reserves. So that's one thing. And that's the vertical drilling, the horizontal drilling with fracking. The other thing that changed in Texas, and it was about the time of no year is coming in my head. I had dinner twice with to my memory, with the head of the Texas Railroad Commission because of a friend who knew him very well, and I was invited. The head of the Texas Railroad Commission is the most powerful person in Texas. The second most powerful is the lieutenant governor, and the third is the governor. But anyway, right around 2005, 2008, something like that, Texas changed its rules. It used to be when you drilled vertical, and for that matter, horizontally, but when you drilled in the prolific Permian Basin, you could only produce one zone at a time. So if you drilled a well down through 5 productive zones, you had to put 4 of those zones behind pipe and then produce out of whichever zone you thought was best. you had to produce that zone until its economic life wore out. Now, if you wanted to do more than one zone, you'd have to drill another well. But you were only allowed to produce from one zone. The Railroad Commission controlled that very, very carefully. Well, they changed it. And they allowed you to produce out of every zone that you had in one well. This was a huge, huge change in Texas. And it meant that from a financial standpoint, the numbers worked better. So you could drill a well, and maybe that zone, that fallback zone that you knew you were going to hit to make it a successful well, wasn't all that exciting. But you knew you could make an economic well. It might take 5 or 6, 7 years to pay out, but at least you knew you were going to get your money back. Now, and if you did that safe zone, it meant that everything else that required fracking and horizontal and other technologies, you just waited while you got that zone producing. So you had a successful well, you held the acreage, but the return was low. It really limited the number of wells that were drilled. All of a sudden, every zone could be produced at the same time. And the Permian Basin became the swing producer of oil in the world. That extra 1 million barrels a day, 2 million barrels a day that could come and go and never went. They just kept producing it. It changed the oil price picture around the world. And it caused the battle between Saudi Arabia and Texas. That changed. So these two big fundamental changes in the oil and gas story make Oro Grande truly exciting. Truly exciting. You can go down vertically and produce oil, but if you go down, build a platform, do it in a Christmas tree pattern, you can go out 2 or 3 miles and then drill like a Christmas tree and frack it all and potentially be producing monstrous amounts of oil and gas. Further, you can do it all at one time. So it's really exciting. NextBridge, there's still risk. It's oil and gas. There's always risk. But far from bankruptcy, NextBridge could be on top of the next Delaware Basin. NextBridge is a bloody fascinating story, but you have to get ready. You do have to get ready that a lot of what I'm saying is the upside. But in oil and gas, I've found there's always something that wrecks that upside. Think of the Caspian. Everybody was rushing to drill in the Caspian. They had bad results, and it was really disappointing. But I predict they'll figure out where the oil is in the Caspian in the future. Anyway, that's a long talk about NextBridge. I think it's really exciting. It's really exciting. They're scared of what's going to happen. That's great, Steve. I'm so glad. Andrew left, has been indicted. Yeah, it's amazing. By the DOJ. By the DOJ. He's affected. Go ahead and share it, Augustine. I don't know how to link it, but other people will. Share it. That's a great idea. It's a huge breakthrough. And it just came out this morning. I'm going to try to finish with Jim Rickard's posting this month on gold, and I'll try to not get bogged down word for word, so you don't have to, you don't have to be bored. But Jim Rickards has this theory. Now, I'll just start the article. It's written by Dan Amos, CFA. Narrative versus reality. Gold as portfolio insurance. Jim's rule for investors that narratives win in the short run, but reality wins in the long run is encouraging. I think it's pretty powerful that we can be fooled in the short run, but eventually reality prevails. Financial history shows hype is fleeting while value creation is timeless, even if occasionally it's ignored. The key, quote, the key for investors is to see the narrative for what it is, unquote. You could say it about politics too. If you avoid the mass psychosis and position yourself for reality, you will succeed in the end, unquote, Jim Rickards says. All right, so this is going to be, I'm going to give you an idea that I've never heard of before. I'm reading this for the first time. I just got it in the mail. Okay, here's the narrative. And the whole point of that they're talking about the narrative is this is what the mainstream media would have you believe. This is what your wealth advisor would have you believe. It's what Keynes would have you believe, the barbaric relic. It's not exactly what he said, but let's move on. The narrative is the mass psychosis. It's the herd. And if you're willing to critically think, make your own analysis and bet against the herd before the herd turns and runs toward you, you can make a lot of money. All right, so the narrative, which implication is it's wrong. The narrative is this on gold. For decades, the prevailing narrative has been that modern fiat currency systems, untethered from gold, are superior and more sustainable than gold-backed monetary systems. I actually think a strictly gold exchange doesn't work, but this says a gold-backed monetary system. Proponents argue that fiat currencies offer greater flexibility for economic management, enable more effective monetary policy, and allow for easier global trade. They claim that gold-linked systems are outdated relics, prone to deflationary pressures, and unable to meet the needs and complex needs of modern economies, the need for money and credit. The reality, history paints a starkly different picture. The reality is that fiat currency systems have consistently failed throughout human history. This is a completely different analyst than the other two I've read to you. While gold has maintained its value for millennia, let's examine the evidence. Look as far back as China's first paper money experience during the Song Dynasty. Some of you might remember it. Big JR might remember it. 960 to 1279 AD. I'm older than Big JR. I know. For a cautionary tale. That experiment in paper money eventually succumbed to overprinting and hyperinflation, leading to economic chaos and contributing to the dynasty's downfall. This pattern has repeated itself countless times across cultures and centuries. The burden of proof that a paper money system can be maintained is on the paper bugs he's making fun versus the gold bugs. Paper bugs are those who assume the global paper money system has entered a new, stable, finely tuned state. They believe central bankers, treasury secretaries, and Congress have become maestros, able to keep, quote, good prices up and bad prices, quote, down. Such beliefs reflect childlike hope. They ignore the history of central banking, which is a tale of boom and bust, brought about by manipulating interest rates, which are the market price of money. More recent examples of paper money failure abound. The Weimar Republic in Germany in the 20s, which led to hyperinflation. And by the way, that's also led, before that hyperinflation, their stock market went bananas to the upside. But then the aftermath is you needed a wheelbarrow of Reichmarks to buy a cup of coffee. Another example is Zimbabwe's economic collapse in the 2000s and Venezuela's ongoing currency crisis all stem from the inherent weakness of fiat systems. The temptation for governments to print money excessively can erode its value over time, will erode its value over time. Okay, here's one of his strongest points. The hardworking, productive nature of a large portion of American society from all types of backgrounds is what ultimately prevents the US dollar system from failing. I would add it's our military too. Rather than applaud American productivity, many politicians, especially those on the Andrew left, prefer to kick them in the teeth for their own political gain. The more recent examples of failure were mainly driven by collapse in production, which now is papered over with new money supply, modern monetary theory under Joe Mentum and folks Obama. And it, to be fair, it continued under Trump. Weimar Germany inflated after the World War I era Treaty of Versailles demanded Germany pay gold while simultaneously repressing the heart of its industrial sector. Zimbabwe hyperinflated after Robert Mugabe oversaw a communist-style takeover of farms and other property and responded to a productivity collapse by printing money. Venezuela is the most extreme case study of what happens to a resource-rich country which should be extraordinarily wealthy, but can't help itself and adopts socialism, the economics of envy, and prints money when the predictable productivity collapse ensues. Thankfully, the United States is not nearly as bad off as these awful historical examples. But that does not mean we can forever get away with squandering our inheritance. The more this generation of short-sighted, quote, policymakers play with the fire of overspending, taxing, regulating, deep stating, pursuing wars of choice, and promoting stock and housing bubbles, the more they risk ruin. Wait, why do you say it that way? Ruin. Oh, Brian, don't be cruel. The more they risk ruining confidence in the US dollar, not just the confidence of overseas creditors, but also the confidence of domestic savers. All right, that's his reality. Now he talks about gold. Gold's enduring value. Contrast the faith everyone has in short-sighted policymakers with gold's track record. For thousands of years, until Bitcoin, for thousands of years, gold has served as a store of value and a medium of exchange. Its purchasing power has been remarkably stable over long periods of time. Hundreds of years ago in Europe, I knew they would use this example. It's like they all read the same examples. Hundreds of years ago in Europe, 1 ounce of gold would buy a fine suit. In 2024, 1 ounce of gold will still buy a fine suit. Even in the face of massive technological advancement and economic shifts, and these guys, these CFAs, they always leave out what really changed our world was oil. You can talk technology all you want, but it was Titusville, roughly 1864, 1863, Colonel Drake, Titusville. That's what allows all of us to live and ruminate and argue and claim sexism, racism, hatred, love, I'm better, you're worse. All of that we can do because we have time to do so. And it's because of oil. Otherwise, we would be living lives nasty, brutish, and short, like most of us were consigned to in slavery systems and industrial sweat houses, slavery systems that affected people of color, women, children, and whites. It was whoever could get away with it. But oil replaced the output of human beings and machines. And that's what you call technology. But at its core, it's oil. Maybe that'll change and it'll become something else. But I wouldn't write the chapter over on oil. Even in the face of massive technological advancements and economic shifts, gold has held its own. A study by Credit Suisse concluded that gold held its purchasing power relative to a basket of commodities over the past 200 years far better than any fiat currency. What sort of monetary systems will evolve over the next decade? Jim Rickards, and this comes from the Jim Rickards Strategic Intelligence Report. Jim has addressed this question many times. He will keep addressing it because it is such an important topic. In short, while a full return to a gold standard is unlikely in the near term, it still may be revisited as the United States empire-like behavior recedes like an Irish driveway. Either by political choice or by necessity, because we run into tighter constraints and can't afford it anymore. Meanwhile, many private sector households and institutions are putting themselves on their own gold standards. Doesn't that sound like what I keep saying? We have to become our own central banks. No official international gold standard agreement is necessary. In fact, as Jim often mentions, the global credit system would collapse if the dollar-centric system were to peg gold at $2,300 per ounce. That's too low a price to back up all the money and credit which has been printed over the past decade. So gold at this price, it's now 2,400, is too low to clean up our books. A non-deflationary gold standard would require a dollar gold exchange rate that which works out to 10 or 20 times the current gold price, 10 or 20 times. 23,000, 24,000. Will that happen? Maybe. But the path from today to that scenario would involve lots of eager exchanges of dollars for gold, pushing up the gold price. And with each passing year, the supply of dollars is on track to grow by over 1 trillion from the deficit alone. Many investors ignore the inconvenient truth that most of the reckless post-COVID surge in the US money supply was driven by deficit spending. All right, so that part of the article is over. Let's study his gold stock that he recommends. New York Stock Exchange. I've never heard of it. It's called B2 Gold. The symbol is Boy Tom Gary. Boy Tom God. BTG. And it's named B2 Gold. Companies that excel at producing gold efficiently and profitably are set up for huge rallies in the future. And this is an example. The CEO is Clive Johnson. The team has a track record of creating shareholder value over decades. Oh, he built Bema Gold. I never really knew that one, but Ken Ross, I remember. He sold Bema Gold to Ken Ross. He founded B2 Gold in 2007. His team has identified and acquired and developed high-quality gold projects. Organic mine development and acquisitions are what have contributed to B2 Gold's growth. They acquired the Atjikoto project in Nambia. Africa is a future economic powerhouse, Africa. Anyway, in Nambia in 2011 for Canadian $160 million. They advanced that project and they brought it into production ahead of schedule by the end of 2014. They acquired CGA's mining Mass Bait gold mine in the Philippines for $1.1 billion in 2012. That was a producing asset when they bought it. They also acquired the Fekola project in Mali for $500 million and shares. they built a large-scale, low-cost mine by 2017. It's been a home run. It has produced a cumulative 3 million gold ounces. I don't know if you guys heard the numbers I was using for this small little Nevada company. But anyway, 3 million gold ounces, and it has a potential for a long life. And anyway, it goes on and talks about a Barrick Gold and B2 Gold talking about Mali, and I'll skip that. And then B2 Gold bought Sabina Gold for Canadian 1.1 billion in 2023, and this is the Back River Gold District in Nunavut, Canada. All right. B2 Gold is poised, and I've never studied this stock. You and I are learning this at the same time. I just received this last night in the mail. B2 Gold is poised, and it comes from Jim Rickard's Strategic Intelligence. B2 Gold is poised for significant growth over the next 2 years. The Black River Gold District is on track to begin production by mid next year. This new mine will add substantial low-cost ounces to the company's production mix, which should drive earnings growth. They show a map. This project is the cornerstone of B2 Gold's future growth strategy. Basically, this project is in the northern part of the Northwest Territories in Canada, and it spills over to the territory next door. And I'm having a brain. I used to know all of Canada's Canada's what would that be next to Northwest Territories? I can't remember right now. Okay. The gold is found in an open 8-kilometer long banded iron formation. It's amazing how often gold is found with iron. Byron King, whose email I used to get for years, and I think he's now part of this team. He's very good. Is confident that gold mining in this untapped formation could last for many decades. I don't know who owns the Goose Project, but I guess the Goose Project is here as well. I guess Goose is part of B2 Gold. Goose is scheduled to begin production mid-2025 with anticipated gold production of over 310,000 ounces per year for the rest of the decade. This substantial output will significantly boost B2 Gold's production profile and revenue. B2 Gold has a successful track record of maximizing mine value for your benefit. It pays a dividend. I love hearing that. B2 Gold pays a regular dividend. It started paying a quarterly dividend in 2019. They raised it in 2021, and they've maintained it at 4 cents per share per quarter. BTG's share price is now so low that just that dividend works out to a yield of 6% per annum. Okay, so what's the big question? What is B2 Gold worth? Despite its strong operational track record and growth prospects, B2 Gold currently trades at a huge discount to many of its peers. It appears so. As of June 2024, the stock trades at 4x enterprise value over EBITDA. I think that's a really, well, anyway, I guess if everyone accepts that measure, that's what you have to take. I think EBITDA is a sketchy thing. I even think enterprise value is sketchy. But anyway, 4x on EV over EBITDA on next year's earnings. That's far below the stock's average multiple. EBITDA is a standard measure of operating cash flow. I'd rather just use cash flow, operating cash flow, or whatever. As B2 Gold, I'm not an accountant. As B2 Gold brings back Black River online, reduces capital spending on Goose, and benefits from high gold prices, we see significant upside to the stock's valuation. A re-rating towards 6x EV over EBITDA by mid-25 is a realistic price target, especially if gold prices rise above $2,500 an ounce. That's feasible, that price target, in a one-year time frame. These numbers work out to an $8.30 price target for BTG. Sounds like they've been hurt by shorts too. All right, so that's his BTG trades on the New York Stock Exchange for approximately $3.30 a share. There's other very interesting things here, but I'm not going to do it now. That's enough for Friday night. That is enough for Friday night. He has a whole idea on China's real powerful industry. If you read the mainstream media, you see a lot of negativity about China. But China and Russia, in my opinion, are going to have their American centuries, and we're going to watch unless we get our butts in gear. He talks about a uranium company. I'm not a big fan of that. Talks about another gold miner, and talks about a company. He doesn't really talk about it a lot. Transocean. That's a company I've liked for decades. The symbol is RIG, R-I-G, and that takes advantage of any increase in drilling, particularly offshore. But anyway, we'll save that. Talks about semiconductors. There's a lot of politics. And EVs, but we'll save those things for another time. All right. Now it's okay that you asked. Yeah, my computer's going to freeze anyway. It's okay that you asked again. If I'm a Democrat, am I for open borders? No. I'm for immigration as long as it's done legally. My sister that's her bailiwick at the State Department. She's very high up, and she makes a pretty good argument for what public policy is. But I think the absorption of 19 million people, ignore the politics of it. They haven't been tested for disease. That scares me because I like being in the United States and knowing I'm not going to get polio or smallpox or something. But no, I'm not for open borders. And RW, I voted for Donald Trump in 2016. I voted for Donald Trump in 2020, and I intend to vote for Donald Trump this year, which I can't talk about in my city, but that's, that may be confusing, but that's, I think, the one of the strongest reasons I aligned myself with the Democratic Party is that it stood for the working class, the blue collar, the middle class, the poor. It stood for everyone. And now it seems to stand for banks, frankly. I hope I'm wrong. But RW, if you pull up that map and you just go to the swing states, oh my God, it scares the heck out of me. If you assume, and I can't say it on YouTube, but if you assume that all they need to do is give a reasonable cover story that makes sense to the left coast and the East Coast, and then they can Kimberly Cheadle. All right, so I'm going to sign out because I don't think there's a lot of activity on my call. Thank you for listening, and have a good weekend. And we'll see you Monday, maybe sooner, but we'll see you Monday. So cheers.